Risk of Rain 2 is a third-person roguelike game developed by Hopoo Games, and it's really seeing a lot of traction in the general public right now, what with their new expansion being released fairly soon and announced at the III Initiative. So it only felt appropriate for me to bring in a couple of my good friends so that we can just absolutely gush over this game. Unnamed Secretary, bring in the friends! Hey, gabagool yourself.
Hello.
No, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna gabagoon you.
I'm good. You can't say that.
We're gabagooning?
I'm gonna grab myself a gun.
Go, gadget, kill no.
Go. Hey, bro, the show just started. We've been here for 15 seconds, and you're immediately telling me to. You're the worst.
Yeah, your opinions, all of them bad.
Your opinion, every single one of them, terrible. All right, well, how's this opinion? Risk of Rain 2, good ass game.
No.
I mean, it's all right.
What do you mean no?
If you don't mean no, you're on a show talking about it.
If you don't like this game, you could take your sorry ass and leave this fucking call.
Maybe I will.
Banned. All of you are banned.
You are not allowed here. No.
Just blocked. None of you are free from sin.
Yeah, yeah. How did that meme go? How do you like to top your sub? And he's like, to hell with all of you.
You should have asked the internet that question.
Yeah, that was so stupid. It was
really
like Microsoft Edge asking. God damn it.
No, it was Subway.
Subway moments.
Well, no, it was because it was Microsoft Edge asking what was this year's best Edge or something, and then it was Jersey Mike saying, "How do you top your sub? Blocked. You're all blocked. None of you are free. Yeah, free. Okay, so you got it correct.
Yeah.
And then it
goes
even further down the rabbit hole.
It was just so fucking wild. Anyways, Risk of Rain.
Yeah, we're not here to talk about corporate Twitter. We're here to talk about Risk of Rain. You know why? Because Risk of Rain got a new update recently. Well, it didn't actually, but it did have an update announced.
It's going to.
It's going to have a new update soon. And so, in the efforts of trying to both coerce and talk with people, coerce is not the right word. In the efforts of trying to talk with people about games that I mutually share a joint respect and love for, and also to extend my content and try and stretch myself even thinner because I'm the worst. Bless you. This is the first on the chopping block. Risk of Rain. I don't know why. I think it's because, you guys are the closest connections that I have. And the people who were the most willing and immediate to like, yeah, okay, we'll talk about this game. Everybody else was like, yeah, I'm down to talk about a game, but they weren't really like, it didn't seem like it was really at the top of the list. Which I don't expect it to be. But either way. So, I think another part of this is coming off of the backs of the fact that we recently, within the last, month or so, have gotten back into the game, like the full swing of it. And I do have a thing on this that we can either bring up now or bring up a little bit later as to why that's happened. But you, Vance, specifically have gone so far off the deep end that you are now not only doing high eclipse runs on characters, but playing in the damn simulacrum.
Yeah, I've been curious to see how far I can stretch my simulacrum runs. I think so far the highest I got was around 89.
You just casually jumped on it.
That's its own separate thing.
We haven't gotten that.
No. Off what Dylan was talking about, right? For a long time, we could not play this game co-op. We could not play it multiplayer. And the reason why was, unbeknownst to us, someone had it set up so it was trying to connect through effectively the Epic Game Store instead of Steam. And those servers are, how you say, stinky poo-poo.
In
if
layman's
it's not
terms.
the Steam ones. Yeah. And we would get connected every single run around the
Mithrix.
5th stage.
Yeah, like around Mithrix.
You
just get it so fucked
lose
over.
connection. Yeah, it would just give up the ghost. So it led to us not really playing the game as much, and it led to me being the only person who was really playing Risk of Rain at all for a little bit. Like in earnest. But after some trying, after me trying to do Eclipse and beating Eclipse 8 for the first time. Which Eclipse, for those who don't know, it's basically a ascension type mechanic where each time you beat a run, it's going to get harder up to a certain point. It scales up to Eclipse 8, and it's basically an extra way to add some challenge and depth to the game. I had just beaten Eclipse 8 on my favorite character when I started trying to drag these guys back into the game a little bit more because I had been absolutely jamming out to the music, really enjoying the gameplay loop, and just wanted to hang out with y'all some more.
Dragging us by our goddamn tendons.
Yeah. Just like, you will play this game. It is good. Damn you.
It's like, this is your mandatory fun time, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
No, I'm glad you specifically mentioned the... Because I mean, we bring it up almost every single time about the fact that because of some dumbass setting that I had on, that was what was causing my game to constantly be disconnected. But I forgot that was like the reason we stopped playing for a little bit, because it was like, why fucking bother?
We couldn't play.
Yeah, why fucking bother? But if I'm not mistaken, I don't think it had anything to do with... Well, I guess it may have been trying to connect to the Epic Games servers, but I think it was mostly that I had crossplay on, because Risk of Rain had always told me I was supposed to have it on, even though we all play on Steam. And it was probably like, what are you fucking doing? What are you doing? You idiot. And then would just kill me 45 minutes into a run. And I'd be like, well, so much for that.
I guess I'm not playing this anymore.
Yeah, I guess I'm not playing this anymore.
Yeah, we went and played something else. Just some other random...
I love how as soon as Risk of Rain was able to play, we just stopped playing GTFO.
Oh, that's the game that you're pivoting on.
Well, no. We still need to play GTFO, but that's a whole other thing. That game is just a fucking time commitment and a half. Holy shit.
Yeah, I'm like, oh wow, I really love spending an hour of my day just to lose.
Just to fail.
Just to fail.
Why are we still here?
Just to suffer.
Just to get our fucking ass beat.
Yeah. But no, I don't... I'm hoping, so I guess in light of the fact that there's a content update coming out, it's a fairly small one in the grand scheme of things by comparison to the first one that they came out with, I think is safe to say, just based off of
You're talking about the free expansion, right?
Yeah. That they're putting out, the...
Seekers of the Storm, I think is what it's called.
Yeah, Seekers of the Storm.
Yeah.
It's not going to add any new heroes. I think it's pretty much just a skin and a little bit new mechanics.
It adds a new skin, a new... artifact.
I will take some new mechanics, though.
Yeah,
that's fair.
New skin, new
hypothetically,
artifacts.
some new items, right?
I mean, I have
maybe?
no clue. Potentially, it adds like a new enemy or two. It adds a new stage, and I think that it does specifically add different mechanics for handling player looping. They were like, anybody who can brave the dangers of looping, and everyone in the comments was like, y'all are clowns. What the fuck are you talking about? But no, in light of that expansion, I'm thinking, what am I thinking? I'm not thinking. Never mind. Come back to me.
No thoughts.
No thought. I forgot.
Yeah, Peter, what are your thoughts on Risk of Rain? Because clearly we all enjoy it, but
it's a pretty cool game. I think the balancing could be better.
Yeah,
that's about it.
You know what? That's fair. That is fair. There are definitely some arguments to the balancing not being the best.
The only thing
balance.
The only thing I like everything about Risk of Rain. The only thing I don't like about Risk of Rain is the fact that Hoople Games had a mentality of whatever we put in is what we put in. There's going to be no fixing, no balancing.
Oh yeah, you were talking about that. I remember back when.
But they don't own the game anymore, so that problem
they don't
kind
own
of
the game
evaporated.
anymore.
Yeah,
it's also very interesting to see that because, like, early on in Risk of Rain's life cycle, long before we ever played it, sticky bombs were fucking crack. Like, holy shit, they were insane. Not only did they scale a bunch of different options, but they also percent up to apply, but they scaled percent damage, and they were like, or did they? They were basically fucking ATGs just on hit, and it was absurd. Yeah. And then they changed those heavily. And after that, they kind of just went, yeah, we don't really care.
They made one
But-
nerf to a sticky bomb, and then we're like, all right, guys, our jobs here is done.
All right, guys, that was it.
We saved the city.
But, like, and on the one hand, that sounds like it's like trash, and the game is still fucking fantastic. Like,
Oh, yeah.
it's PvE, so it's less so a matter of like, hey, something's too strong, as more like internal balance is a little bit off. There's a definite difference between survivors and their like relative power level or whatever. But that's okay in my mind, because uniqueness is going to innately kind of lead to different power or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm realizing we haven't even really talked about like what Risk of Rain is. Have I or did you do that in the intro?
Well, at the top of
Like,
the page,
did
I
you-
just called it a third-person roguelike because that's really all I can make of it, because trying to explain the intricacies of all of it in just an intro doesn't do the trick. But I do recognize that it would probably be healthy for any random listeners who have never heard of this game before for us to try and sell it to them, because game good. If game wasn't good, with a few exceptions, they wouldn't be on this show.
Yeah.
I mean, God, how the hell would you?
Out
even
of
describe it?
curiosity, what are the games that are not
Overwatch.
good that are gonna?
Yeah,
Of course.
if you had to put one up there.
If I had to put one up there, it'd be Overwatch, and that might be the only game in the list of games that I can. There might be some Sonic games when me and Alec eventually get to that, but like,
Mhm.
but it's mainly Overwatch. But I'm trying to think, like, Peter, how would you describe Risk of Rain to somebody? How would you describe the second Risk of Rain game to somebody who had never heard of the series, but maybe understands what roguelikes are? There's steam coming out of his ears right now. He's thinking real hard.
I don't really know how to describe it beyond the fact of like, if you're gonna play a roguelike, you're gonna have to touch this game at some point in time.
Oh, they're gonna say touch grass.
This is a mandatory play.
Yeah, I mean, this is basically this is like probably one of the top 3 roguelikes, or even like roguelikes or roguelites if you just combine them together. This is probably like top 3 up there with Binding of Isaac and fuck, I don't even know what the next one would be.
But this game is so like beginner friendly that like genuinely anybody can pick it up.
So anything but Noida.
Yeah.
yeah, essentially.
God, that's a subject.
Yeah, on the
for
next
another
episode, we talk
no,
about how
no,
much we
it's
fucking
different.
hate Noida, even though I don't know if any of us have played it.
I physically
I do
cannot.
not hate it. I just don't. I don't understand why I'd want to cast testicular torsion on myself repeatedly.
Yeah, I already dropped out of college. I don't want to have to go back to try and get a degree to understand how to play the fucking game. But
it is a silly, goofy time.
Van, how would you describe Risk of Rain? Because I'm hoping that with your
I would
experience, you could describe it
describe
better.
Risk of Rain as a third-person shooter roguelike in which you have to traverse a series of stages collecting items to overcome increasingly varied and difficult opponents up until you face the ultimate challenge in the form of the end boss, Mithrix. And to reach him, you're going to have to complete a series of trials before you can even get to
Him.
get that.
He's reading off the wiki.
He's
I'm
reading off
not.
the wiki. No, he has a simulacrum run running. He couldn't possibly have pulled up the wiki in this time. No, I was just looking through, and I've also realized that a fair amount of, well, I can't speak for the veracity of this, but the majority of roguelikes and roguelites that I personally have, with the exception of maybe Gunfire Reborn, and that's it, all of these games that I have are either two-dimensional or isometric. And I think that might be one of those things that makes Risk of Rain stand out amongst a bunch of them. As much as
Also,
it sounds,
soundtrack is fucking fire.
maybe the best soundtrack of any roguelike game ever. I haven't played a lot of the other ones. I have a lot of them in my library. Risk of Rain 2 has got the best. But
This fucking it goes so hard.
yeah,
Like,
we're gonna
I'm
have
sorry,
the
it just
entire soundtrack playing in the background while this is going on. No, we're not. The
it's only They Might As Well Be Dead.
yeah, it's
Like,
just an hour and a half
that's it.
loop of They Might As Well Be Dead. No, I think
Perfection.
even though it would be it's like, oh really, how much could having a third dimension to your roguelike really change that much of it? But it's like you'd be surprised how much of like a fundamental difference that makes for how to approach the game and how to craft stages for it, and even how to craft music for it. Because I'm not going to get too much into these interviews because I'm autistically obsessed with them. But when an album commentary was done by the composer of this game's soundtrack, he basically said, we wanted the songs in the soundtrack to not only be long, but we wanted them to be more atmospheric, to like reflect the areas that you exist in rather than the enemies and the situations that you find yourself in. So yes, you would be surprised as to just how much of a difference adding that third dimension into your roguelike makes it.
Especially when it's like approached with such love. Because there's games out there, there's games and roguelikes that you can tell, like, most of them do have an enormous amount of love put into the games, right? That's kind of just a consequence of most roguelikes are done by indie studios. They developed as a indie game type situation. But the amount of personality and effort that oozes from this game is incredible. And from the various lore entries for every enemy and item in the game, to the story being told in the background, kind of in that Souls-esque method. Would you agree with that, Peter? I don't want to misrepresent.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Storytelling
lore and
is in the
descriptions.
background. Yeah.
Yeah, storytelling is definitely in the
Lore in
background.
the descriptions, and you can see that there is more shit than meets the eye here. Even just in the brief descriptions of item pickups as you find them.
Yeah.
And then go back through and learn more. And I find the thing of like looping very interesting for Risk of Rain as a concept where you can, it's the game itself functionally has an endless mode just built into
Its base
the
mode.
concept. Yeah,
Yeah.
just built into the base mode. It's just risk and reward.
It's just risk and rain.
The Risk of Rain. Oh!
Oh, my phone
There
fell
might be a
off
risk
the
of it.
damn thumbtacks. I'm so sorry. No, I'm glad you mentioned the looping specifically because I want to segue this into something to let Peter have a moment here. Because when Peter brought this up to me, I thought this shit was really cool. Where he, like, because the whole concept of, like, spoilers for the Risk of Rain story, I guess, is the whole concept of, like, the void and the fact that if you get trapped, you are just, like, there until the end of time. And the fact that the creatures that spawn in that can send you to gay baby jail till the end of time usually only spawn in once you have looped or once you've exceeded a certain power level, because the point of them is to put you in jail if you have become too powerful to stop you from just wreaking havoc on the earth. And I want to let you know, Peter, that when you told me about that, I thought that was the coolest shit ever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of really cool shit.
Yeah.
Just
The lore is cool enough to pay attention to and go out of your way to like read descriptions. I specifically went out of my way to 100% this game so that I could look at all of them.
Peter has like a full comprehensive understanding of everything about the Risk of Rain lore. Ask him ask him anything right now, and
No, I haven't looked at it.
Are you looking
It's
at
been
the
a
wiki
second.
right now?
Are you looking at the wiki right now? Are you looking at the item descriptors right now?
Oh, don't fall. There we go. No, but like I think that's sick. And
I'll do what I want.
And I do agree
Just
with
splat.
Variant here that like, yeah, it's the fact that like you'll only get little tidbits of it. And even like the logbooks that they give you, they're written from the perspective of another person, and so it's not like you know, from like an omnipotent, like this is everything that happened. It's like on one of the stages, the log is like a person who crashed onto that island, and they're like, am I going crazy? Is the ground moving? Oh no, I think I should be okay. And then they like just die. because like shit came out of the ground and killed them.
What?
But
Madness.
yeah, actually, I guess because
I really love the story told of Mithrix and Providence within the logs.
yeah,
I find it very interesting in that capacity. And one of the most fascinating logs, in my opinion, is the log for egocentrism, which no one listening to this, unless they already play the game, will inherently know what that is. But it's an item that consumes all your other items if you give it enough time, and just becomes more. And it is this monologue from Mithrix waxing lyrically on his brother's, air quotes, his brother's betrayal.
Oh, I mean, not even air quotes. That was just straight
that was
up
just
betrayal.
strict betrayal.
That was
yeah.
a betrayal. Yeah.
Straight up and down betrayal.
Yeah, I was kind of like, eh. But on his brother's betrayal. But it just works perfectly as both a storytelling device around the item, this wonderful set for backdrop and story / lore that they added in the update. This wasn't even fully a part, or the previous update, Survivors of the Void. And it also perfectly like pairs with the item in and of itself, because while Mithrix is waxing lyrically upon it, it is clear he is focusing only on himself surrounding it. He is the center of his universe. And I find that to be a impressive way of storytelling.
Yeah. You don't get to read a log on Mithrix. You're just like, here's an item that describes the betrayal that he had to experience, even though he's also the asshole.
I mean, both of them are bad people.
Yeah.
Both of them.
You know,
they are. I think to describe it from a fucking Rain World quote, it's the affairs of passing God, right?
Yeah.
They are God in all the ways that matter. Which is,
So to say, I mean, like, tying in
crazy.
with what I said, with what Dylan mentioned earlier, with the fact of like we're getting put into jail. The void creatures don't fuck with Mithrix or Providence because of how powerful they are.
Yeah,
they have definitely achieved that level of godhood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so so powerful they can't even get sent to gay baby jail.
Yep.
Could you? Oh god! Now I just want to spawn in one of those void creatures and kill it right next to him and just see if it just evaporates him.
I mean, it would, but you know,
I'm gonna try that right after this. But
so to say, that's the first thing I'm fact checking as soon as we're done with this.
Literally, exactly. Now I'd like to look more into this specifically, but I do also love the idea that when a creature gets infected by those stupid little void bastards and just, they become a void bastard themselves, is that everything on the map will just attack them. Like, the regular creatures here are you are a goddamn pest, go away, kill yourself.
No.
But
you should kill yourself.
No. No, but I'm personally more obsessed with the lore of the soundtrack of the game because I'm a fucking loser. But like, Peter, since you actually did do a lot of divesting and looking into the the lore of it, like what are really like fascinating tidbits and pieces that you've kept close to your heart, waiting for this podcast?
waiting for this. I mean, I find it cool that this is a sequel.
Right.
This is a sequel to an overarching story. And once we get into Risk 2, we've already killed Providence, one of the gods of this world.
Mm-hmm.
And something that seems like it's going to be prevalent in new DLC is that godhood is purely based on how much physical power, like raw power, you have. Like, it doesn't matter who you are or where you started from.
If you loop
all
enough,
that matters is that you're
God.
strong.
Yeah.
If you loop enough, you'll become God.
A combination of strength, but this is once again a lore excerpt. It's not just about strength; it's about how much soul a being has. That's its whole other thing. But talking about the DLC, there is this being known as Arulanite. I'm probably saying his fucking name terribly wrong.
I think it's just a rule night.
Yeah, I
think
think
you're right.
it's
Rule night,
spelled like Aurelianite or some bullshit. And also, as I found
It's
out recently,
probably Aurelianite.
as I found out recently, it's also a she, and I think that's cool.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Cool. But Aurelianite, she is a construct that was made by Providence. And Providence poured an excessive amount of soul energy, so much that it exhausted him for a day, into her. And Mithrix locked her away after saying to Providence, "You have created the first being on this planet that can harm us, that is in danger to us." And I find that very interesting in that the amount of soul seems to have something to do with it. But that's once again like talking about like random bits and pieces of lore
Yeah.
and less about the game itself.
Yeah, but it does go
Because,
into
well-
perfectly what Peter was talking about, where them having that much soul into them is going to be probably an important part to play in what comes in the DLC.
Oh yeah.
So you take it away.
I am personally hoping for some cool like Midas touch items.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
releasing
would
with
be
the
sick.
Wait, hold
DLC.
on.
Hold on, let him cook.
Let him cook. Somebody's made a mod for it, probably. Or somebody
probably, yeah.
will as soon as they see the
Okay,
implication.
that's another thing about the Risk of Rain community. They mod really fucking well. Though some of them should not have access to a computer. Some of them do need to go outside.
Some of you are the fucking worst.
Government mandated go outside.
Government mandated touch grass.
Yeah,
make
government
fruits.
mandated outside time until the street lights come on.
Then you have to come back home.
Yeah. And then you are allowed to come back home. But hopefully, if you've done your job right, then they will be so enamored with the outside that they'll want to stay out there for longer. And then you'll say, "Okay, we'll give you 15 more minutes."
Yeah.
But no, a lot of that DLC seems to be potentially surrounding what happens, because like in canon, you kill Mithrix and Rule Knight is not only lives but escapes from the gay baby jail that they were put into.
Mhm.
And so I'm very just like what Peter is saying, I'm hoping to see some very cool and innovative shit that comes out of this new theme for a DLC, because
especially since Gearbox has control over it now.
Mhm.
yeah, I guess that's
I
the
hope to
important
God
part,
they do something good with this IP.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which I don't know. They're touching such a beloved indie title that like I think they're hopefully being very cautious about it, lest they face the wrath of of a lot of
Unless they face the wrath of the Risk of Rain community.
yeah, literally, because the you can face AAA companies can face the wrath of AAA consumers because they're all fucking piss babies. Not all of them. A lot of them are piss babies who spout nothing into the void. But as soon as you piss off a very large group of like people who really enjoy this game and hold it near and dear to their heart, you will never
TF2 moment.
Yeah, TF2 moment. You will never recover. If Gearbox fucks this up, I was going to dramatically say they're going to go bankrupt, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah. I think that whatever happens, it's going to be, like, I'm pretty sure it will be well received. And I think that they're like, yeah, no, we understand the general recipe for making a enjoyable Risk of Rain game, and like, or how to execute on Risk of Rain in a way that will be appreciated by its players, because it's got it's pretty well laid out, right? It's not like what am I thinking of? It's not like the game is on shaky ground in terms of what makes it compelling or trying to find what might be like drive the gameplay loop in a fun way, because at the end of the day they have a very strong basic formula in the form of a number of different characters with many unique abilities and very fascinating mechanics for the roguelike to play through and discover, as well as having just a very strong framework left for them by Poo.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, fair.
No, I have my own slight ideas as to, not really ideas, I have my own slight things as to what I'm kind of hoping for the DLC on like a more general broad scale, because I usually don't have the brain power to like try and manifest like any specific core ideas as to what could make an update like this good. But I have a feeling that you might, Peter, so I want to hear what your hopes are for the DLC outside of just, I hope it's good.
Fair enough. I feel like we fully explored the void. I don't want anything having to do with the void. Right?
Yeah, that seems
I feel like
reasonable.
that chapter is closed.
Yeah.
I would like to explore a bit more into, like, how are these races that are obviously intelligent? Like, all of them are. Like, most of them are obviously quite intelligent. Like, where do they hold up? Like, because I don't think we're in their hometowns. I feel like we're on the outskirts of, like, where these races live, except for maybe Cloud Sky Meadows.
God, fuck Sky Meadows. Okay, sorry. That's a
put a pin in it. We'll get back to it.
I have a personal grudge with Sky Meadows.
Stop. Skill issue, dumbass. No, but
yeah, no, that's a different thing.
I do agree, though. I do agree with that part because, or I like the concept of that part because, like, I could reasonably believe that any survivor that touched down onto any of these areas of the planet are not well equipped enough to even deal with the regular monsters that we fight when we like start out. Like, I could reasonably believe that even the few amount of monsters, the sparse amount that we get on any given stage, especially at like the beginning, I could reasonably believe that they're strong enough to take those survivors out. So I also like the concept that, like, hey, here are like the inner walls of Babylon type stuff where there's, where there's a lot more complex creatures, or there's just a lot more of the creatures, because that's your Denver, Colorado of the Risk of Rain universe type shit. So I like that. I like that idea. I think, what do I think? I don't have think. No, I'm kidding.
You're not allowed to anymore.
No, that actually, I guess a continuation onto that is the thing I was saying a little bit ago. Is it's like I like the fact that the first DLC was like, let's have a peer into this incredibly powerful cosmic force and try and understand it and understand what it does and how it affects the world around you. So I do like the idea that the theme for this is in the complete opposite direction. It's like the void is just exploring the darkness that's ahead of you, hoping you can make semblance of what's happening. And then the next, this smaller expansion is like, hey, look at that, it's bright outside. Look at everything that's happening. Like, you can see everything. Like, here's going more in depth.
The sun is shining.
Yeah, could you imagine?
And their god has awoken.
And yeah, you have to face the unmatched power of the sun or gold.
I love gold.
I love gold. No, so I like that idea. I think the main thing that I was thinking about is I'm really hoping that Hopoo had ideas for another DLC, just in general. Like, obviously, I imagine that they probably couldn't execute on much because they maybe didn't have a whole lot of money for
Honestly,
them.
They probably their last update that they worked on was probably a little bit of whatever the hell we're gonna get in the second DLC, right? And then pretty much probably all of that expansion. The new one that's coming out.
Yeah.
The little test one.
Speakers of the Storm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like the idea,
cool name.
And I'm kind of hoping that they had at least a little bit of framework and idea on their end, mostly because at least that gives Gearbox something to latch onto if they're not exactly sure how to take the game. they go, oh, here's ideas left over by the developer. We have the power to actually execute it and make it happen, right? So I'm hoping that they had at least a little bit of framework to start off and build off of something. Of course, if everything that we see in the expansion is, if most of it came from Gearbox and their brains, and it turns out really good, then that gives me a lot of hope. But in the off chance that they maybe didn't have the greatest ideas to how to take the game, hopefully they had a little bit of framework from previous ideas from Hopu to jump off of it. And then if that DLC is really good, we can have like a pseudo Terraria moment where that gives the game enough support and money that they can keep making updates, because that sounds cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but that's all
I
entirely
think
speculative.
that it's, however it turns out, it's going to be fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
Because
And if not, then we can just turn the damn DLC off.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
I do like that is an option of like, oh, hey, yeah, you can just turn this off. You don't have to have it on all the time. Though we personally, between the lot of us, we all had a little bit more of a mixed reaction to the Survivors of the Void. Peter in particular, especially when we were experiencing connection issues, fucking loathed an enemy type known as Blind Pest.
They did so much damage for spawning in so early. It was
They
just
still do,
it would
but-
kill you so quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've mostly skill issued our way out of that problem, mostly.
Yeah. And also, yeah, no, that's true. Like, don't get us wrong. We are not good at this game. For the most part. I know I'm not.
I think we're relatively good enough, honestly. I don't think the
We are
difficulty.
competent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Having over 200 hours in a game at least shows a little bit of something. It shows that you know what you're doing, even if, like, mechanically there might be stuff missing, but, like, you have the knowledge. You've got options.
I mean, I'm currently working on completing Eclipse 8 on all the characters, which I've only done it on 2 so far, because I only started recently. But, yeah. You were saying, Peter?
Nah, never mind.
Peter has nothing important to
Don't
say
mind me,
on the
don't mind
matter.
me.
Peter's like, I'm better
No thought.
at this game than all of you. Suck my dick.
Suck my dick. Fuck you.
Fucking nerds.
No, most of the time now it's more of like a, I don't know, I'm not going to get that frustrated at the DLC, because what's going to happen is I'm going to spawn in, and if I die to one of those enemies, well, I died on the first stage, and now you run it back. Do it again. But yeah, I think I had a couple of notes written in here, but I think some of these things we've already tangentially gone over in the process of talking about a bunch of other things. So really, I guess I'm curious to look at, because we've made some like offhand comments about the characters in this game and certain balancing relating to them and Commando being bad, but
No, we haven't done that. I have a whole like 30-minute segment on Commando being bad. But
we haven't quite gotten there yet.
That's for my other podcast. Fuck Commando. I hate this character.
Yeah, it's a really long name.
Damn, man, you have a whole podcast dedicated to it?
Yeah.
Yes.
He literally is on Kendrick levels of hater mode about Commando as a character. No,
realistically, I actually like Commando as a character. I just hate him.
I just hate him.
Holy shit.
Like, theoretically, I think he's neat. Granted, this is coming from someone who plays a human fighter in D&D, right?
Yeah, boo him.
So, like, take that with a grain of salt or whatever the hell you want to do.
Yeah. No.
But it's just... On Eclipse, I look at him and I go, why are you the way that you are?
Why can't you be normal? Or why can't you be less normal?
Why can't you be normal?
He's too normal.
No, he's too normal.
Yeah, that's the fucking problem.
Yeah.
No, but I know that we've also made some, like, we've made offhanded jokes about characters that we don't jive with, especially as of recently, because we've become more open about our emotions, because we're real men, right? But I guess...
Cringe? Anyways.
What do you mean cringe? Fuck you, bro. No. We've,
Fuck you.
I don't know, I just want to know, like, who... Because I've seen, I could probably guess whose favorite characters, like, what your guys' favorite characters are just by the amount of, like, times that we play them when we play with each other. But, like, that's not always necessarily representative of it. So I guess I'm wondering like who your favorite character is, who your least favorite character is, and then if there's a character whose kit that you don't jive with, like I've explained in the past, and if like I guess the least favorite character and that character are the same.
My least favorite character has got to be probably Acrid.
Interesting.
I cannot figure out how to fucking play the game when I'm playing that.
You
Playing
press
that particular
R and
hero.
run in circles. What do you mean?
Yeah, just don't.
I die so quickly whenever I'm playing Acrid, so I just don't anymore.
Fair.
Fair enough.
As a person, I know you really like your melee characters, and I think I might know why Acrid feels not great for you and why you don't like him.
He's like a melee character, right? But not.
He's like a melee character that has two abilities that give him range, but I think I'm sure the problem is the fact that his character feels so much heavier than the other two melee characters in the game. So I imagine it's one of those things that's like it feels sluggish to get around. It feels sluggish to get your damage going. I think Acrid has armor on him, so it's harder for him to die,
does.
which is cool. But also, the best way to not die is to be fast enough to not get hit. And the other two melee characters in the game, the Mercenary, aka Japan, and the Loader, aka keep punching until your problems are solved, are like
Lord Death
significantly
of Murder
better.
Mountain.
30,000.
That is what Loader is. Loader is Lord Death of Murder Mountain.
Yeah, exactly. So
The Dobby Bobby 3000 herself.
yeah, exactly. So you
That
compare
is
those two
fucking
characters to Acrid, and I can understand that Acrid feels really fucking sluggish and like slow and bad. Even though I'm pretty sure, like on a power level, he's like pretty good, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, think about it this way. With no items, you have an ability that will kill things. Or
That's
it won't
fair.
kill things, but it will put them to so low that it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
See, that's cool and all, but I'm just not confident enough.
So maybe we're looking too
No, that's
deep
the
into it. And
glorious
Peter
thing.
is like,
you
I'm
just run in
bad.
circles. You just run away while they bleed to death.
Yeah.
But I want to be in the fight. I want to be in there. I want to be.
I know.
I want to run in circles like a coward.
He wants to run circles around his enemies.
What if I want to die? What if I want them to kill
What if I
me?
want them to kill me?
What
What if I want them to try?
Come try.
No, I like the idea that we're thinking way too deep into this. We're like, I think it's just because he doesn't feel as great as the other two melee characters. And Peter's just like, no, I'm just bad.
No, I'm just
I
bad.
just have a skissue.
Although my favorite hero is got to be Mercenary
Yeah.
Mhm.
because
One of the good feeling
well-made
melee
melee
characters.
character.
Yeah.
Very fun.
He's like a character he like rewards skillful play. His alternate options are
And
really fucking cool. I
His
like
his
them.
alternate options are really interesting. What do you think about his alternate options, Peter? I know
All
I
of them
put you
are
on
good.
using them. I know I
All
put you
of-
on using them, but
All of the alternate options are good. All of the basic options are good. You can do any amount of build you want. If you want to do more tech, use your base options. If you want to do less tech and have better abilities per se in the game, then use the secondary abilities. But it's a character that is not only both, a melee character, but also a character that has a bit of tech in the game, which is kind of cool to have.
Yeah.
Because then it means you're better. No, it doesn't mean you're better. But
That means you look cooler.
flying across the map at Mach speed because I did an ability off the right angle is great. It feels good.
Yeah.
It feels rewarding to play this character. Very good melee made character.
Yeah, and he actually also has a ranged option if you're good enough to acquire it. And as it turns
Yep.
out, it's pretty fucking
It's pretty fucking
it's
good.
pretty fucking good. And it just like it's like satisfying to use and it looks cool and like I don't even miss so like Mercenary, one of his abilities is he will dash at an enemy and will slash them a couple of times, but during this time he has complete immunity, complete iframes to fucking everything. So it's really cool that if you're like, oh no, this boss is about to kick my shit in, how about I just nope out of there for a second, metaphorically speaking, as you iframe through it. But like, if you play Mercenary well enough, you don't even need it. You just replace that with your ranged ability that does basically the same attack, but you throw it out at a distance, and you don't get the iframes, but you can just attack shit from a distance.
Yeah.
And I don't even miss the iframes because it's so goddamn cool that I don't need them.
you're also
Yeah, the
like,
iframes are nice.
far enough away that it doesn't matter. You're able to engage from a safe distance.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Iframes are awesome, but honestly, once you learn that your dashes on get you out of combat a lot quicker and a lot better, then you kind of don't need them anymore.
Yeah. At that point, it's
Yeah.
entirely up to personal preference, or if, because I'm pretty sure they functionally do like the same amount of damage. So it's like, would you rather just be right up in there with them and whatnot,
Yeah.
or are you fine with I don't know, or would you rather not be right up there with him and allow yourself to have a ranged option? It's also nice. It feels more satisfying than the iframe ability, which again does functionally the same thing, because I feel like the throwing of your sword or whatever the hell you actually do in that ability like hits enemies more, like it hits more of them. I don't know how to describe it.
It looks like Mercenary's like whole kit is like hard light.
Oh,
So it seems like because it seems like hard light is
Yeah.
what he's doing. I don't know for sure.
My brain auto-populated hard light afterburner, and I'm just like, oh.
and that's what and
Oh,
what
okay.
and what character is good with hard light afterburner? Mercenary.
Loader.
Loader's good with a fucking ham and cheese sandwich, okay?
Yeah.
We get it.
Yeah,
we get
what
it.
she-
All she needs to flatten Mithrix between her thighs is a fucking ham and cheese sandwich. It's fine.
Yeah, just give her some sustenance, and she's like, "I'll go
Oh,
hand
God.
for hand with you, you fuck."
Man, I'm hungry. I can't beat Mythics yet. Good thing I have this sandwich on me.
Yeah, good thing I good thing I picked up this bison steak earlier. Let me grill that shit up.
Good thing my only item is a bison steak.
Yeah, and then you eat it, and then you lose your 25 health, but you're now satiated, and you can just kill.
Okay. It's slight side tangent, but I do have to love the fact, like, we're kind of shitting on Loader a little bit in like friendly banter way.
Yeah.
She has physics-based damage, and that is some of the coolest shit I've seen in a roguelike
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
of this variety.
she's one of those characters you think
Like,
you know how to play,
literally,
and then
the
you watch a
faster
video
you
and you're
end
like,
up
no.
getting going and like slingshotting yourself with, because she has like a Spider-Man grapple, and if you slingshot yourself fast enough with that, fucking hell, everything dies.
Yeah,
It's so cool. But
yeah. So she's epic. She's epic and awesome.
mhm.
And as I've learned, I think requires a lot more skill than I realized she does. Because
Very low skill floor, very high skill ceiling.
yeah,
Oh my
and I
God,
think
the
maybe a
skill
slightly
on
higher
that
skill needed to be like kind of effective with the character. Because like I played them for so long, and then I was like, I feel like I'm not doing anything. Like I feel like no amount of damage that I have means anything. But that might just be me not remembering like what items did I have, or did I have a ham and cheese sandwich before playing?
Yeah, exactly.
Did I or did I not grab a ham and cheese sandwich before playing this game?
Yeah, I gotta open up my backpack and I'm like, guys, I found it. I can win now. But no, so yeah, we've established that Peter really likes his melee characters. So I guess as a quick thing before we move to Variant's favorite characters and least favorite characters, like, how do you feel about Loader by comparison to both of them? Not necessarily in terms of power level, just your enjoyment playing them.
It's
Or
pretty
for
cool.
Peter, for
For Peter, yeah.
I personally preferred Mercenary over all the other melee characters. Loader's cool and all, but
Peter's not a big fan of having to make a ham and cheese sandwich when he starts his runs, and that's fine.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. You know, Peter's just
not a big ham and cheese fan.
what sandwiches are you a big fan of, huh?
Ah, dude.
sandwich.
I don't remember the name of this.
Blend.
I
Yeah.
don't remember the name of this sandwich, but it's like
Uh.
rye bread, right? Rye bread.
A Reuben?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
hell
had to
yeah.
say
There we go.
one ingredient. This peasant ass motherfucker was like, "All right, I
You.
got you."
Fuck
Yeah,
you.
fucking Reuben is like the staple sandwich to put on rye bread.
Yeah, exactly. That's the sandwich that
Also,
uses
don't call him a
rye bread.
peasant
Fuck
for like, you know what?
You're
You
not
know what?
seeing
Oh,
the
no.
accusations. You're
No,
not winning.
no, fuck you. Variant, what's your favorite sandwich? And then also, who's your favorite and least favorite characters in Risk of Rain and why?
Okay. Okay. What am I allowed to include in sandwiches?
Oh, God.
Is it, am I allowed to include like a fucking chicken sandwich, like a
You
fried
can't
chicken sandwich?
say $1 million sandwich.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
No, that's
Can I have a
that's
million?
not what
Can I
was
have a
gonna do.
$1 more billion bill sandwiched between rye bread?
Rye bread. Hold the mayonnaise.
I mean, yeah, it'll dirty up the
Nah,
it'll
man,
dirty
you
up the
need
$1
mayonnaise.
billion.
You don't want a dry ass sandwich.
Well, don't eat the $1 million one. What? Chicken
What
sandwiches
else am
are
I supposed to
fine.
do with the sandwich?
Exactly.
Chicken sandwiches are fine.
No, like a fucking spicy chicken sandwich done right is, I would argue, one of the best sandwiches you could possibly have. But
All right, hell yeah, good ass opinion.
man, I'm too hungry to pick like an absolute favorite sandwich. I'll be 100%
Yeah,
honest
literally,
with
it's like
you.
I
Oh
could eat.
man, all this sounds so good.
Yeah, he's like, it's like, all right, Varian, what's
Yeah.
your favorite sandwich? And he's like, can I say all of them?
I say all of them.
Can I-
Every
can I say
sandwich
any-
ever.
Any sandwich that isn't dry as fuck.
Yeah, give me.
I hate dry sandwiches. I would not wish that upon my worst enemies.
Yeah,
You know who else hates dry sandwiches?
you.
Ay, ay, ay.
Loader. Loader actually really does not like
Yeah.
dry sandwiches.
Yeah, but
They need a well done sandwich.
yeah,
You know, a well executed sandwich.
yeah. No, you know,
Not like,
yeah, a sandwich cooked well done.
bruh. I swear to God, you give me a fucking steak sandwich that's cooked a well done that isn't a Philly cheese. I'm gonna be.
Yeah, literally, you're gonna be like chewing through
All right.
tire
Anyways,
rubber.
let's get back to
Yeah,
talking
now I'm
about
hungry.
fucking-
Yeah,
Favorite
why the fuck
character
are we
in
talking about
Risk of Rain.
sandwiches right now?
You can go from least
brain
favorite
rot
to
is
favorite or the
real.
other way around.
So my favorite character would have to be alternate Huntress.
Ooh,
And that is just because I think she's like the perfectly balanced character and has a lot of really solid options while like not being unable to participate with any item in the game. You know what I mean? I always like it when I'm able to pick up an item and go, ah, yes, this will be helpful. This actually has, this will genuinely just benefit me.
yeah,
Right? As opposed to like some of the range characters, you get a fucking, or oh gosh, I'm trying to think of like a very specific character or example. Like, okay, Captain. If I get a backup mag on Captain, I'm like, oh, a white scrap.
yeah, exactly.
Fair.
Or something along those lines. Maybe I'll hold on to one because it's useful. But she is just this incredibly agile, super hard hitting, has the ability to proc bans with her ballista. The multiple small dashes are great because I love the high mobility, and her choices between her primaries are genuinely compelling and interesting because one has a higher ceiling with crit while the other is a more consistent generalist, right? I just find it, I think she's an excellent bit of game design. My least favorite character. Okay. My least favorite character was Artificer. And that was before I got some extra time playing Artificer's alternate form.
I will
Because
admit, I was
Artificer's-
also an Artificer hater.
Yeah.
I was also
Yeah,
an Artificer hater.
Artificer's base form is awful. The kit doesn't flow together. There's just so many things that don't stand out as like, oh, I want these on a character I'm playing in this video game. There was just so many aspects of it that I just it completely turned me off. And then I started playing her alternate, and it was like I rediscovered Loader, but she had a gun.
All Loader
Like-
needs is a ham and cheese sandwich and a gun.
Yeah. And Artificer plays in a way where it's also like big burst damaged focused, which is fun.
Yeah.
But if I had to talk about like at the end of the day what my actual least favorite character is, it would probably have to be Commando.
Mhm.
Partially because like Huntress does the generically good character so much better.
Better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she is the other character you start with.
But Commando's the poster boy.
Commando is the poster boy. I am so annoyed and so tired of trying to hit fucking grenades to proc bands.
They're so bad. They should really
Um,
detonate on impact instead of just.
Bro, if they were impact nades, I might actually like Commando more, and my lowest rated character might end up being Rex. I just don't get Rex personally.
Yeah.
He is not like, I think he's neat, but he's so finicky that I just don't.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
He feels like he might rely on his his own gimmick a little bit too hard.
He feels the most gimmick of all the characters, which is saying something because Acrid exists. But I do appreciate Acrid, so
Yeah, Acrid's a good boy.
Acrid is a very good boy.
But no, that's fair. That's actually, it's funny that, because, yeah, again, Artificer base form and Artificer alternate form are like night and day from each other. It's kind of insane. Because I think after watching you go through playing Artificer a bunch and then being like, whoa, that kit looks cool as shit, and then finding out that I also have all of those kit pieces, I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to play the character. And that actually skyrocketed them from one of my least played characters to probably being in my top 3 because I find them very enjoyable.
Yeah.
Because I'm like...
It's got a good loop. It's got a good, like, rhythm to it.
Yeah. It feels like... I think the whole point of Artificer is supposed to be like an Elementalist style character. That's why they give you all those options.
Yeah.
And I think I would almost hearken to say that each individual element at least has like a certain degree of like, this is well executed for what it's supposed to be. I just think the combination of all of them in her base form is like bad. And also the fact that
like her base form just focuses on fire and it doesn't play well with like any abilities. I don't think it plays well with a single or not ability, item.
Yeah.
I don't think her base form plays well with a single item, bar the one they just added in the DLC of fucking Ignition Tank.
Yeah.
Like, because Ignition Tank does play well with that base form.
And that's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's also like, I don't know, Artificer feels bad if you don't have the mobility. Because, like, then at that point, the floating is a little bit of a gimmick. Like, a gimmick that's, I mean, it's fine for negating your taking fall damage, but, like, it doesn't make as much sense as when you have like a launch myself 50,000 feet into the air and then be able to be like a kind of ranged artillery from the heavens and whatnot. So just having that entire alternate form of Artificer has put them in my top 3. And I would probably only put her below like Multi at number 2 and Railgunner at number 1.
Really? Railgunner is your favorite?
Yeah. I think it's just due to it's probably due to the things that I was talking about with you the other day, where when I'm playing Railgunner, I feel like, I'm playing Railgunner and I feel like the items that I pick up for myself that are supposed to be good for that character aid them in doing their job like 50% more than the items that I pick up on Multi that are designed to make him better. And I get that it's because it's like, one-shot damage usually escalates and scales a lot harder when you get more items that buff it than each individual shot being buffed up by more attack speed and having it do double damage because of a crit or whatever.
Right.
When I get to those crazy jumps in power with Multi, it's really funny because I just look at an enemy and I go, now you are full of nails.
Now you are full of nails.
But with Railgunner, I'm like, oh, that's a boss with 50,000 health. Guys, 1 second.
Oh my guys, let me finish this ham sandwich.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been like the biggest fan of like just the hit this one shot skill shot thing and kill. But with Railgunner, it feels particularly satisfying because it's in a PvE game and I get to see my damage, like, you know, across everything that I have on it. So, I really don't like any of their alternate abilities because I think they take away from that thing that I personally like about it, but I'm not going to call them bad because I've seen plenty of people use them to great effect. And like I've seen Peter use it and he really enjoys it and he gets shit done with it. But for me, I'm personally okay with like being a tiny bit less or a little bit more sluggish, a little bit less movement capable per se. Like, you know, the ability to move to one spot and take a few shots, and then move to another spot and take a few shots. I'm like, I'm gonna stand up here, and I'm gonna shoot him with a gun, and then I'm gonna
You're
go
our
about my
Overwatch
day.
sniper.
Yeah. I'm the far away sniper, and you're like a mid range sniper type. But I think that is also just like why Railgunner is good. I just happen to particularly really like their base form. So the character that I don't like is Engineer.
Really?
I think some of his kit has a little bit of merit, and I do think it's really funny watching the power spike with his turrets when you get a bunch of shit on it. And I think I probably would like Engineer a lot more if I didn't have to deal with his fucking grenades. Like, the grenades being his primary fire is so frustrating to me. Because I'm like, they feel kind of sluggish because I have to charge them up. I have to account for, like, the travel time. I have to account for the arc. And then most of the time I feel like, because I'm literally shotgunning the grenades effectively, most of them don't even fucking hit my targets. I'm like, this shit feels like a scam. But the rest of his kit I think is really cool, actually. I think, like, I've only had a little bit of time to play with, like, his moving turrets and his, like, little highlight over these enemies and launch a few rockets at them. I think that shit is really cool and, like, really well done. It really is his primary fire that makes me want to die. So, I don't know, maybe I just need to play him more to get the grip of the grenade launcher, and I think that's probably just how it goes for all of our least favorite characters, except for maybe Commando in your case, because, again, his kit is just frustrating.
I have played Commando through Eclipse 8, and I'm just like, damn.
Now it's done. I can move on.
I'm probably going to do it again, but I want to beat the other ones first, but I decided to beat Commando after I beat Huntress, because I'm like, okay, Huntress is my favorite character, I'm the best with her, I understand how she works. I'm going to do that. God damn, does the fucking
Commando just tilts
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
It's more just the fact of it's like, why is playing the game so much harder for this character for no reason?
Yeah, why do you have to punch me in the dick when I want to play the game?
Yeah, just why are you worse?
But you were gonna say, Peter? Or you just
nothing.
You were just agreeing with
Nothing.
him?
I was just agreeing.
Yeah, based. Yeah, I guess before we move on to anything else, I'd be curious to specifically hear your opinions about Captain variant, just because I know that, like, he's been a character you've really been playing a lot when you've been playing with us.
Mm-hmm. Part of that is just we've been doing Eclipse runs, and I'm wanting to level him up and get from.
Yeah.
I actually really enjoy Captain. I think he is a very fascinating character in what he has to offer. And I like that he is, once again, relatively well-rounded. And I find his beacons to be a compelling interesting tool.
Yeah.
That's the main thing about Captain. I think he's enjoyable, but he is left-click simulator.
Yeah.
And over and over and over again. Because you don't fucking have like an automatic fire. It's a weird charge shotgun thing.
Yeah.
And like, that's fine. I do not have an issue with that.
Yeah, it gives you options, but it's also like acknowledging that you really are just left clicking a lot.
Yeah, you are left clicking a lot, and it's relatively slow. It is carpal tunnel simulator, which, you know, that's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
I just find his passive and the fact that he actually incentivized buying drones very interesting. So for those of you who don't know what Captain does, his passive is he starts with a red item that lets him basically that will duplicate for each drone he has. And it deletes projectile, which helps reduce one of the issues with him, which is that he is not a mobile character. He is actually quite immobile. He has no mobility tools whatsoever. Unless you count Diablo jumping, but that's a thing for later.
What the fuck? What are you talking about?
That's a thing for later.
All right, that's on his third podcast, Diablo jumping on Captain.
Yeah, it's somewhat silly.
Yeah, no. Honestly, watching you play a bunch of Captain has compelled me to play them because his whole his primary fire, despite being carpal tunnel syndrome, simulator.
It's
thing,
good. It's really good.
it feels really fucking satisfying, and it looks really satisfying to watch. And so
You
while I
just
might
hold
not
the
be,
button down.
well, no, because if you hold it, then you
No,
get the
you
charge
left
shot.
click.
Oh, well, yeah.
It's just
Yeah, but if I want to
repeated tap
shotgun
fire.
enemies, I can't do that.
Fair enough.
It's basically the difference between a scatter shot shotgun and a slug shotgun. I like the fact that he has both, but again, you have to acknowledge it really is just left click simulator. The rest of his kit is kind of whatever to me personally, but his left click is almost so enticing that I'm like, I'm gonna go play a bunch of Captain.
Yeah, I think Captain's kit just works really well within itself, and that's a great thing to have.
Yeah, but
I was surprised that your favorite is not multi. I gotta
Yeah,
say.
same.
yeah, you'd be surprised with how much I've been playing him. I think it's it's like multi feels like especially with the power mode that he has, where you just fucking dual wield chain guns, nail guns. Sorry, he might be the heaviest on proc chain, like just most amount of bullets per second type situation. Crazy. I mean, maybe maybe barring like the Voidling or the Void Fiend in his alternate form, because that man can really pump out some hits.
Some damage.
Yeah, some damage and
Yeah.
a million bajillion repeated instances of small damage. But I think it's that, like, how do I explain this? Most of the time, it's like certain characters, they build up and they get a bunch of items, and then you get to see you get to see like a boss's health bar just wilt away. Granted, really fast, you get to see it wilt away, where you can see the with Railgunner. Again, it's really satisfying to just look at them and go, if you blink it, you will miss that I killed him, type situation.
Yeah.
And
Just where the fuck did he go?
yeah, in the grand scheme of things, it's probably, I mean, like, all of us like doing big damage, and I think a lot of us like playing characters that are, I will shoot you once and do a big chunk of your health. But I really appreciate the fact that Railgunner just takes that over the edge. And I think that's just really cool. It is very unfortunate that if you don't get a good build, quote unquote, for them, then it feels like you are, I can't even think of a good analogy, but it's like you use up your giant charge shot, which for the record does like 4,000% damage if you hit a weak spot. And you do that, and then you're like, wow, that was only a quarter of his health, and now my gun is on cooldown, and I can't shoot with it for 7 seconds. So that feels bad. At least with multi, it's like I am always shooting at them. But when all the stars are aligned, or even just a couple of them are aligned, it really is like, oh, hey, that boss. Okay, there's half of his health bar gone. Team, get him.
Yeah, the moment you get banned,
Get him!
fucking
Jump his
over.
shit!
Banned for ban.
Oh yeah, bans. Bans being the most powerful item in the game is another example of Hopo being like, I don't want to balance this game.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that was actually, concerning the balance of it, I'll only touch on this slightly because I don't know if it's super important to what's being talked about here, but I think most of Risk of Rain's balance doesn't necessarily have to do with anything being like being too strong per se, because it is a PvE game. I think it's the fact that there are a couple of items in the game that are designed to do the same thing as a different item, and it just fails. It just does not do it properly, and it's like not worth picking that item up. But most of the
You're
balancing
like, why do
issues
I
that
have
you're gonna,
this?
yeah, exactly. But most of the balancing issues that you're gonna find are just like, this thing is too weak, and this thing fundamentally goes against the way that the game wants you to play, or this character is imbalanced and is commando.
This character is unbalanced, and this character is commando.
Yeah.
One of the things about why Commando feels bad, right?
He can't proc the
Is
most
because
powerful item in the game with ease.
Yeah, he has trouble proccing bans.
Yeah.
And most other characters have a way to proc bans just on demand,
Yeah.
which is really strong.
Mercenary
Like,
on just the get out, every single ability he has can proc bans.
Yeah.
Every single one.
I'm pretty sure Acrid's like melee can proc bans, which I think is really funny.
Acrid's third melee can proc bans, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like they just walk up to them and just like claw at them, and then they just like get burned alive.
Explode.
But yeah, no, that's why
Yeah.
Commando feels bad. But it's that's generally the thing that I have found with the balance philosophy, is that a lot of it is less to do with this item is overtly too powerful, and more so these items aren't nearly as helpful. And there are plenty of items in the game
Yeah.
that are like, they're very helpful, but they're not as flashy, and you won't notice how much they save your ass. Like the opal and the repulsion armor plate, which just reduce the amount of damage that you take in different ways. But those items, like, eventually those items feel like they do have a tangible effect if you're watching for it. And then there are some items like the bison steak that give you 25 extra health, and you're like, why do I fucking live?
Brother, trust me, once you play Eclipse 8, you are never gonna talk even remotely bad about Opal.
Yeah, opal is goated.
Like, Opal is obscenely good, especially for Eclipse, because how much damage it reduces, it's... Okay, Eclipse 8, final modifier, right? You take permanent damage that's based off a percent of how much damage you took from that instance. Opal reduces it so much that a lot of normal attacks aren't going to give you curse. You aren't going to take permanent damage from it.
Yeah, because it'll
That's
basically
how
apply
big
a
of a
curse.
difference it makes.
Because it'll apply a curse if the damage that you take exceeds, if I'm not mistaken, 2.5% of your total health, of your max health. So yeah,
Pretty
if you have an opal that reduces the first hit that you take by a lot because it gives you like 100 armor,
which I'm pretty sure is like over 50% reduction.
probably.
That
I
might be a
don't know how
75%
armor works in the game,
reduction.
but I would reckon that. And I think it gives you an extra 100 for every one you pick up. So eventually you're just like,
here, let me check.
yeah, fuck it. He's Googling it on the spot. But yeah.
Side note. Little
It's
side
100
note.
armor plus 100 per stat.
Yeah, exactly.
It is 100%. Yeah.
But your side note?
Go ahead.
Pause the podcast real quick.
All right, we're pausing.
Okay.
I'm going to do a really
I want you to
loud
take
clap.
a second.
All right, cool. All right, so everybody, you might be wondering why I paused the recording. Peter is about to fucking die in game
I'm about
was
to
very
kill
funny.
myself.
by accident. But no, yeah, exactly. Like anything that like, as I have slowly tried to figure out how to play the game properly, knowing that a repulsion armor plate reduces the amount of like ticks, amount of damage that I take from like tick sources, is very nice to have. And while I'm definitely not good enough yet to actually get up to Eclipse 8, once I do eventually get there, I'll be like, Opal and Raps, my beloved.
Opal and Raps, my beloved.
Yeah.
Facts,
But,
honestly.
Yeah, that was that tangent done. So, this is, all right, I personally only really had two things I wanted to bring up before I think we've thoroughly surface level digested this game. Which is a question that I'm sure you guys are going to have an immediate answer to, which is like, what is your favorite song in the soundtrack?
You already know mine, so Peter.
Yeah, Rain, formerly known as Purple, because it is perfect for the stage.
It is perfect. I immediately assumed that both of you were going to say the thing that you guys are writing on, because that makes sense. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't have asked to write about it.
Yeah.
But I'd actually be curious. So I have had virtually no interference in these two writing about the songs for the video that I'm making, because I'm sure people who come on here or who see this will probably kind of understand what I'm doing. So I have intervened about as little as I can. I think the only thing that I've said is if you have any video pieces you want to put up, record that piece, give me the footage and I'll put it in when you want me to. And basically let me know how long it took you to actually write, or like maybe pseudo write up and record your stuff. Because I assume neither of you have really been writing stuff down in the same caliber that I have been. But I wanted to get a little bit of a glimpse into what both of you have to talk about with them. Like just, a couple sentences of what is so fascinating about them that you're like, I need to talk about these and I need a platform.
The songs were not made just to be pretty.
Yeah.
As pretty as they are, they were not made just to be pretty.
Yeah.
And using Sky Meadow as an example, and using the Rain formerly known as Purple as an example, it's a perfect complement to the stage. It is just a perfect complement to the stage because it describes the enemies, the secret on the stage, how the stage in the lore should be interacting with the heroes. Like it is a perfect complement. Including the whole thing where it's like he added a MIDI file that would get louder as you get closer to the teleporter. Right? The music was designed with the game in mind.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that MIDI file specifically because every time we play on a stage, I'm like, guys, can you fucking hear it? So I guess just to clear the smoke a little bit. So what Peter's talking about is that the composer for the game, he built out every single song in the game in two ways. He basically built out the entire version of it that exists for the OST, and then he made and then basically made like a shorter version, which it's within like the same project file. So all things considered, it's the same thing. But he has then left like markers for himself for this is how long the song needs to go within the bounds of the stage. So if you've ever listened to the soundtrack in depth and then listened to it in game, you'll find that there are some portions of the OST version of the soundtrack that you will not find in the game version because it doesn't loop in on itself properly. What Peter is referring to is the fact that Chris, the composer for the game, he basically he took a sound, and if I'm not mistaken, it's the same sound for every single song, and he harmonized that specific sound with the rest of the song so that it obviously never sounds out of place while it's playing, and it's just random. It's like random arpeggiations, just a random little melody just to have noise that kind of fits in with the harmony of the soundtrack for each respective level. And then he made that basically an object that can be placed on the teleporter, so it gets louder as you get closer to it. So if you don't know where the teleporter is, you can look in the sky and look for the sparkles, or you can try and listen for that kind of like, I don't even really know what kind of sound you would describe it as, but it's just
ethereal
this
kind of esque, right?
I mean, it's a little. I mean, it sounds a little bit like a really simple like a one. What the fuck is it? Like a one sawtooth type wave, but not as it's like a square wave. I think it doesn't fucking matter. The specifics of it don't matter, but it's this noise that doesn't really exist within the rest of the soundtrack per se, and so it kind of sticks out, especially when you know what it sounds like. But the cool thing about the Rain, formerly known as Purple, is that Chris took that MIDI file and actually put parts of that in the song itself. Like, if you listen to the OST version of any of the other songs, you're not going to hear that weird little fuzzy synth, obviously, because it's just meant to be bound to the teleporter. But in the Rain, formerly known as Purple, that sound is in there because he deliberately wanted to include it in. And I thought that was cool as shit because I'm a nerd who is into that kind of thing. And then I told Peter about it, and he was like,
that is cool.
Yeah, it's sick. So, but yeah, no, I think that's, what you've explained is like, it's just a very good encapsulation of the space as it exists around you, because that's the whole point of the soundtrack, and it's just done to its like peak in this song. So I'm very excited to see how you go about elaborating on all of that when you actually give me your file to talk about it.
Yeah.
So now Variant, well, for both of you, I've tried giving you as much material about your respective songs you're going to be talking about as I can. And unfortunately for you, Variant, the only thing I could really tell you is that if Chris was dedicating 2 weeks to every song that he made, which is a real rough metric that he gave himself, the song that you really enjoy took him 3 weeks. So that should speak as to how dope it is.
All I need to say is he put his whole Chris Cadisi into that song.
All right, we'll cut that out.
No, redo that entire fucking sentence.
In Variant's defense, that's not of his own words. That's what a commenter said on the song. But I do hate that you said that.
I know that's not making it into the fucking YouTube video, so I'm putting it in here.
Well, I mean, frankly, I'm not going through and cutting it out. I don't give a shit.
Yeah. But no, the song that is my absolute favorite is They Might As Well Be Dead. And it's fucking right. It is. It's this song that encapsulates this feeling of unease and wonder at this hostile alien environment, and flows with how the player is interacting with the stage, in a sense, as the stage continues and danger ramps up over and over. The song just starts hitting its stride, and it enters this fucking perfect loop, basically. This first perfect encapsulation of how it can be. Gosh,
He's so enamored.
it puts you in the Zen state functionally. It puts you in the state where you know that whatever comes of it, you are going to have to meet it or die. It has that like adapt or die energy while being just an absolute fucking banger.
Yeah. And I think
And
that's
I think everyone else can agree with that for the most part.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, both of the way that both of you described your respective songs to me is that they feel incredibly fitting for their environment, because that's the whole point of the music in the first place. But like, it feels like it interacts with the environment in like a meta sort of way, because like, what's a good example? So like Nocturnal Emission, that song that plays in the wetland aspects, the beginning of it sounds very tribal and sounds very like you are in a wetland, and that's the whole point. But when you're talking about a song like They Might As Well Be Dead, not only does it kind of match the same vibe of you being in this kind of in this sort of forest type area, but like the ramping and escalation of energy within the song itself matches up with the fact, like, with how chaotic the rest of the stage actually gets. Like, that's not something that you can plan for within your soundtrack, really. It's just that the way that this soundtrack was written has a lot of that ramping and building of intensity and of in energy, much like how the stage does. So, like, a lot of it interacts with the stage in that meta way that you can't really describe until you've separated the music from its space to really take it in, and then go back into it and say, okay, this is what it's doing as it exists within the stage. So that's a very good way to look at it, and I like that. That's sick. I think the song that's really been on my radar the last few weeks, because of the lore behind the creation of the song and not because of the lore surrounding the stage that it's on, is A Raindrop That Fell to the Sky, which for the record is like the longest or second longest song in the whole soundtrack at 11 and a half minutes.
God damn.
Yeah, it's a very, very fucking long track. But the things that I really appreciate about it are like I like the fact that it's in a non-standard time signature. I think that's cool. It's in 5/4 or 5/8 technically. They're basically the same thing. So that's, I don't know, I just think that sounds cool because it leaves interesting grooves, and I think that's cool. But the thing that really gets me about the track is the fact that it feels like there's so much like emotion that's poured into the track that has literally nothing to do with the stage that you're on. Like, a part of it might have something to do with the stage that you're on. I don't really know the lore about, like, the Siren's Call, I think is the name of the stage. I don't really know what's going on over there, other than like the one thing that you've told me, Peter, which is something to do with like the soulless control unit, those stupid little circular rotund robots being built by the birds and like the crows that live there, because they're like hyper intelligent. And I think that's cool, but I have absolutely no idea what that would have to do with the song,
Maybe
or how those would interact with each other.
I mean, the song. I mean, the whole thing for that stage for me is that it, like, maybe it's a bit sad, as that is like an entire. That's like probably one of the only races on this planet that's smart, like super smart.
Yeah.
And their smartest got ripped apart into pieces and thrown into the abyss, basically.
Yeah, so that we could get a Shustus.
Yep.
Be gone. No, let's be real. It's an interstellar desk plant.
It's always an interstellar desk plant.
Fucking hate that item.
Peter, get one right now. Just
it hates me. It's mutual. It is a mutual hatred.
Yeah. So I'll probably end up looking at more of the lore of the stage itself to actually get a better concept of that whole thing. But there's a lot of emotion that's poured into the track that more than likely has nothing to, not more than likely, that a lot of it doesn't have anything to do with the stage that it's on. The whole story behind that track is that there's apparently a song in Risk of Rain 1, I think, called Coalescence, which is like a fan favorite, and people really, really like that song. I don't know if anybody can fact check me on that.
I know zero to nothing about Risk of Rain.
All right,
1.
I googled it. That is a song from the original Risk of Rain. Cool. So when people caught wind of the fact that Chris was making the soundtrack for the second game, a lot of people were expecting like a Coalescence 2. So much to the point where that was like almost all that they made him out to be as a person. Like, he's not the creator of the Risk of Rain soundtrack. He's not this complex person. He's not like this person who went to like music school for years to understand how to be a proper composer. All this stuff. They're like, this is the guy that made Coalescence. So because we know he's the guy that made Coalescence, we want him to make the second one. And that really got under his skin for a while because he was like, I want to move on to like bigger and better things. With an homage to Coalescence if I feel it belongs there. So like that in combination with the fact that he was like very stressed out over not knowing if he was even going to be able to finish the soundtrack for the game. And then this 11-minute piece comes out and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Awesome. Sweet. Thank you. That's
Just
dope as hell.
beautiful.
Yeah, like it really is like it's weird coming from somebody like me who has a hard time articulating when music sounds like ignorantly good, because a lot of people don't know what that means. I would describe a lot of like metal like chugs as being like ignorantly good songs type situation. Like there's not a lot of musical complexity to them per se, but they just are bitching for the sake of being bitching.
Good. Let me do it a lot.
Yeah, kind of. Yes, situations like that, or like any Ultra Kill enjoyers, like the last minute and a half of War Without Reason from 7-4 from the Earthmover fight, whatever. Like that. I'm a big fan of songs like that, which is why I have certain opinions that I do about soundtracks like Ultra Kill's music. So it's really weird that going into Risk of Rain's music to have a lot of music that does that, and having a lot of portions in music that does that, and then having something like this where I listen to it and it gets me on the verge of tears sometimes. I'm like, wow, this shit is so beautiful. And like, especially because I think a part of it is because of how much content that I've consumed from the composer himself, trying to learn more about what he does and learn more about like how he even managed to make a fucking soundtrack like this, and getting to understand it more in depth and whatnot. I go back to it and I'm like, wow, this shit is like unequivocally cool as fuck. But if I had to go for a second favorite,
unequivocally bussing.
Yeah, unequivocally bussing. Shit's bitchin', hella.
Shut.
But I'd probably have to go with maybe Terra Pluvium as number 2, because that kind of fits that almost ignorantly type thing that I was referring to. So
okay,
that's my.
I feel like at this point you do also need to address the absolute silliness and / wonder that is the naming convention of these songs.
Oh fucking Christ! Yeah. We'll go, you know what? We've mentioned a few.
Real quick for the people in the back.
Yeah, I don't know. Chris has done some fucking weird shit when naming his songs. Oh, you know what? Actually, no. Terra Pluvium's not number 2. It's number 3, because a glacier eventually farts and Don't You Listen to the Song of Life is number 2. That shit is maybe the most like ethereal experience that I've ever had with a piece of music ever. But with its naming conventions, Chris himself basically said,
so silly.
It sounds so silly. But it comes from a random quote from Werner Herzog, I think is his name. He is this. What the fuck is he? Is he like Austrian? I don't know what the fuck he is, but he's like a. God, what is even his position in life? I don't know. It does matter, but
what is his position in life?
Yeah, like what does he do? What do people know him for? I don't fucking know. He's a philosopher as far as I'm concerned. Probably not. But no, so a lot of the music in the game, Chris goes, yeah, I really don't like making generic song titles. I don't want to just make this one be Boss Fight 1 or naming Mithrix's boss fight.
Stage 5.
Yeah.
Stage 4.
And he's like, I'm not going to name Mithrix's boss fight music Mithrix because that's lame as fuck. And he even went on record saying that A Glacier Eventually Farts and Don't You Listen to the Song of Life might be the best song name that he's ever come up with, and then redacted that and said maybe the best song title in the history of music. So
that's fucking great.
And
that's cool at all, but the Rain formerly known as Purple just hits so hard for me personally. Like that song name.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it probably hits hard to him too, but that was like an easy one.
I'm disagreeing with his opinion.
All right, here's what's gonna
You're
happen.
just like-
in the coming months, I'm gonna talk with him and I'm gonna say, my friend Peter, and he's gonna be like, who? And then I'm gonna be like, yeah, that's what I thought. No, I'm kidding. No, but yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of weird naming conventions in the game because a lot of it is surrounding like water, rain, wetness, the weather, things like that, as obvious like as like obvious nods to like the rain being risky for the second time. But also a lot of the names for his songs are also references to like pieces of media that he consumed, or like the rain formerly known as Purple. The entire song is supposed to be a reference to Prince, hence why he used a drum machine that Prince used a lot. And he used, I think the outro to the song like contains pieces that sound like they would come from a Prince song. And Prince used to be called the artist formerly known as Prince, I think, or something really close to that. So everything about that song is an entire homage to him as a person. But yeah, I mean, if you go like, if anybody goes to the Risk of Rain 2 wiki and goes to look at the song names, you're like, what?
What
is this?
The goddamn hell is this?
What in the goddamn hell is this? Yeah. Such bangers as what's a good one? Nocturnal Emission I mentioned earlier.
Yep.
Hydrophobia. You're gonna need a bigger ukulele. A boat made from a sheet of newspaper. Out of whose womb came the ice?
That was a weird one.
Yeah, I forget what that one's a specific reference to, but the song is bitchin'. Who can fathom the soundless depths, which plays on maybe the worst stage in the game, but has really good music.
Fucking
the sulfur pools.
Oh god. No,
Oh yeah.
no, I was trying to shoehorn another fucking jab at
At Sky
City.
Meadows. At Cliff
At
City.
Sky Meadows. Look, okay. My partner has seen me try to play platformers.
That's the problem. That's why you hate that stage. I forgot.
Yes.
Motherfucker cannot stay on the ground.
Homie is always in the air.
We were playing the other day, and I was just walking, minding my business. I then had to jump to try and dodge an Elder Lemurian, and then I got hit by a rock and fell through the floor to my death. And I was so mad.
He said, "You know what? That's enough Risk of Rain for the day."
Just like brother. I've had so many runs ended because I got hit by a random rock and fell to my death. It's
yeah. I could also imagine
personal at this point.
I could also imagine that's why you don't like the Aphelion Sanctuary, because that has a lot of bridges that you are liable to falling off. And I think those might be the two.
Yeah, I don't really
biggest
go in
stages.
there that often.
That might be the two biggest stages in the game that have that as like a problem.
And you'd think I'd have that problem with the fucking sulfur pools, but I don't, because they have like well-defined bridges.
Yeah, they have well-defined bridges. Yeah, the thing that's gonna kill you is the sulfur pools.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the fucking little sulfur pods things that just
yeah. Actually, I guess the sulfur pods, not the sulfur pools, but yeah. Truthfully,
I'm just like, I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you.
You know what? Actually, I guess that I didn't. I was gonna go on a different tangent, but I'm gonna go on this one instead because this might be a good place to wrap up. But are there any songs in the game that you listen to and you're like, I don't expect you to necessarily know the names of them if they're your least favorites, but like you could probably give me a general concept and I could probably get it. You have any like songs in this game that you really don't like?
Don't like. I don't think there's a song I don't like. A
glacier that the farting glacier. I don't like that one particularly.
Damn.
It's okay.
What is the like generic boss music? I think that's my least favorite.
I mean the tech. When I think of generic boss music in Risk of Rain, I'm thinking of the one that plays on the most amount of stages. And the one that does that, I believe, is called Thermodynamic Equilibrium, because it plays on 2 of the starter stages, and it also plays in the abandoned aqueduct like oil rig place.
Gotcha. It's that one for me. I just don't care for it. It is meh.
Fair enough.
For me.
That would have been one of those ones that had I not listened to it as many times as I would, I probably would have maybe said the same thing, because that was one of those ones that I truly like. I would be listening to it in the Risk of Rain like soundtrack playlist that I have, and I would like forget the name of it, and I wouldn't forget the name of the rest of them.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I don't really have that issue, and I think, God, what's the one? There's, I think I agree overall that, well, I guess not anymore because you did find one that you don't like. I think they're the closest one to a song that I don't really like might be the Face of the Deep, the one that plays when you fight the Voidling. I think most of the elements in it are really cool, but eventually the song gets so chaotic and full of like noise, with a lot of that noise being saxophone that is literally just playing all over the place with like no sense of rhyme or reason or like rhythm or anything, that I'm like, this is a little bit hard to listen to. Like, it might be the song that feels the hardest to listen to in the whole game. I'm taking one quick look through all the songs again just to see. No.
Your Ultra Kill viewers being like, why don't you like the complete and utter annihilation of the senses?
Yeah.
It's like, you know why, you twats.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, Ultra Kill actually has a fair amount of songs in the game that I don't really like, and that's just because they don't fit what I am personally looking for in a song when I want to listen to the Ultra Kill soundtrack outside of the context of playing the game. I don't think there's songs that I dislike in the context of playing the game, but outside of the context of playing the game, there's a couple that I don't like. And in the case of Risk of Rain, I think the only one that might do that for me is the Face of the Deep, because it is so crazy and batshit insane and all over the place. And then, I don't know, I don't really want to have Prelude and D-flat major playing ever in my Risk of Rain playlist, but I don't think it's like a bad song that would be like unlistenable. Not like I think the Face of the Deep is or anything, but like Prelude and D-flat major seems like a low-hanging fruit when you listen to the rest of the game soundtrack. So that's probably what I'd have to go with. So
Okay.
And that should probably show that Risk of Rain has a crazy good soundtrack.
Bangers on top of bangers on top of bangers.
Like I'm almost hesitating to say this, but like the fact that I made that video called Ultra Kill has the best soundtrack I've ever heard, and then I heard this soundtrack and I'm like, you know what? Maybe it's not. Maybe this one's better. All
right, viewers, fight it out in the comments.
Yeah, fight it out in the comments.
Ultra Kill players absolutely fucking mauling right now.
A lot of Ultra Kill players actually surprisingly like the Risk of Rain sound. I shouldn't say surprisingly. They just like, there's a lot more crossover in the communities when it comes to music listening than I expected. And I think that's cool. They both have a joint appreciation for banger soundtracks made by like non-American and non-Japanese composers. So, but yeah, that's where I stand. So, I don't know. I guess, is there anything that you guys were particularly interested and passionate about that you'd want to bring up here that hasn't been talked about yet? Because I've exhausted everything that I cared enough about to talk.
Modding is completely unnecessary to fully enjoy this game.
Oh, hell yeah.
With the artifacts that are included in the game, it is very easy to set yourself up for success, to test things out, to get achievements easier. There is no need for you to mod this game.
Yeah. Like, even out of pure curiosity for like how this thing.
Yeah. It can be fun. But there is absolutely no need, as all of that quality of life stuff is already in the game, except for like cutting out animations and knowing the true extent
of what an item
does. The details of some of what an item does, beyond being like, ignition tank gives me more fire damage.
Yeah, most of the time, if you're not a super nerd about this game, you don't need to care about the hyper specifics and knowing that Opal, oddly shaped Opal, gives you 100 armor plus 100 per stack, because if you're anything like us, you probably don't even know how much armor actually is in, like what does the armor stat mean in Risk of Rain? Do any of you know?
I believe it's flat damage reduced.
So like having 100 armor
basically means... it's actually, I believe, percent damage change reduction.
Reduced.
I'm pretty sure Jade Elephant gives you like 500 armor,
something like that.
And
yeah,
I'm pretty sure that it's like way over 50% damage. Well, no, it can't be. Okay, I'd have to.
Yeah, it doesn't. But that's the point that we're trying to make, is that most people, most people, unless the item is incredibly vague, most people understand in practice what an item does. So even having that mod that tells you oddly shaped double gives you 100 armor on the next hit that you take on an X amount of second cooldown plus 100 per, that all you need to know is that you will probably survive a very big hit of damage if you happen to have an opal on.
Mm-hmm.
And you probably understand that even though the ukulele just says his music was electric, after you shoot the goddamn enemy with your goddamn gun, you will know what it does. So mods like that are really just for like the like super nerds about it that are like, oh, this is fascinating to understand, and they like the knowledge of it.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, Peter, good. I had mods in my list, and then I realized we don't even use enough of them. And if anything, that was one of the reasons that we kind of stopped playing for a little bit, was because of an overmodding of it, but that's not for this. So yeah, artifacts will get the job done. Like most mods that you will ever even consider wanting will either be for new characters if you really just, I don't know, can't find your fix with a character that's already in the game, which is difficult, or if you're somebody who likes to have the game just, cut out some of that end lag that it takes you to scrap an item and put it into a printer and shit. So, yes, thank you, Peter.
Yeah.
Variant, are there any other things you want to grandstand on?
Play Eclipse. Genuinely just play Eclipse. Surprising amount of players have never touched Eclipse. It is an incredibly rewarding difficulty system that adds a ton of nuance to the game. Because before I played Eclipse, I genuinely was like, I don't get why people Commando. I understand that. It lets the game really shine in its design and concepts and makes you think and interact with it more. It's probably the most rewarding difficulty increase I've ever encountered in a game. Because a lot of games will just be like, oh yeah, your enemies have more. Oh yeah, your enemies do more damage. Instead of like, oh no, we're going to actually affect how the game itself works. And I really appreciate that about a game.
Yeah. That was one of the things that I appreciated about Ultra Kill as well, is the fact that their increased difficulty levels gave the enemies new things, and they kind of limited your ability to do certain things by, say, increasing the cooldown of your dash recharge and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And so even with the eclipses and Risk of Rain, none of the enemies do more damage on a higher eclipse level. They move faster and they attack faster, and the projectiles might be faster, and if they have like a special ability or a special attack, that will come off cooldown faster. But none of it is ever a straight stat boost in they will do more damage or they will have more health.
Mm-hmm.
The game has other ways to supplement that by giving them different aspects and whatnot, but that's there's more nuance to that than just it gives them more health. If they have a
full
blazing
damage being lethal is such a deadly thing.
Yeah, that's fucked up. That's so fucked up.
It's such a small little change, but it definitely does make it a lot more difficult, especially since it's a 3D plane and a lot of the heroes are going to spend a lot of the time in the air.
Yeah.
Because turns out jumping is good. I have definitely had times where I jumped off a cliff and went, wait.
Uh-oh. This is not good.
Oh no.
But at this point, it's become so second nature that I'm like, it just makes sense.
Yeah, you're like,
you didn't respect it before, but then you respect it a lot more. And like healing being reduced, or like the teleporter. Dylan and I were talking about this the other day. It reduces the teleporter radius. And he's like, oh.
I was like, wow.
And I'm like, bro.
I forgot how much space I have. Yeah, it's also on top of being rewarding to play through the higher eclipse levels, they test your metal and helping you find out what are you actually relying on too much to try and get through the game.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, they will make you a better player. I am stuck on Eclipse 5 as multi because as I found out, I rely too much on needing to keep myself at like 75% health or more, and I die a lot and I get stuck, and I've been stuck on that for a little bit.
I think that'll be interesting when you get to Eclipse 8 and you're like, oh my god, I'm taking chip damage.
Yeah. I take chip damage and I just like fall on the fucking floor. Like I fall out of my chair in the middle of the run. I'm like, ah!
What kills me the most in my runs is my own hubris.
Yeah.
Is that a bleed printer I see? Better burn all of my white items right now.
Motherfucker will full send like a really good damage build into just the fucking dirt the moment he sees like a okay printer. He will
That
set
he already
like,
has a couple of.
having a crowbar, a focus crystal, a watch, like a pair or two of crit, and he's like, all right, all into attack speed. And I'm just looking at him like,
Yeah, it's like
what are you
it's
doing?
like when we
Brother, man's printed 2 excellent red items into fucking Aegis. And
Oh, yeah.
I had to fucking yell at him afterwards. I'm like,
Yeah.
what were you doing?
I may or may
brother?
not have done that on purpose, knowing I would have been watched.
he said I like it when they watch. You're a freak, and I don't like that. No, that was like when we were playing with Kirby, and every time they see a Lost Seers lens, they're like, well, gotta find a crit printer. Do you have any
Gotta
more
find a
white
crit printer.
items? No. Why? Because I have a 30% chance to delete any enemy off the face of the planet. Oh, okay. Cool.
All right, well.
So, yeah. The final thing, I rely too much on healing. Variant dies to fall damage, and Peter thinks he's invincible.
I'm a gambling man.
He's the gambling man. Yeah, that's why he plays Balatro. So, yeah, I think that's everything. So,
Look, that's just a law. You simply are required to hit Mountain Shrine.
yeah,
That's not a gamble. That is a
I
law.
have to hit the mountain
have
shrine.
to do it.
And if I die,
You have no
I
option.
have to play better next time.
Exactly.
So yeah, if there's a few things we've learned today about this video game, the soundtrack is banging. You should go buy it if you haven't. Try and challenge yourself. Experiment with different weapons. Experiment with different builds with the characters. Be sure to try out different characters. Try out different strategies. And always hit the mountain shrines.
Always hit the Mountain Shrine.